Special inaugural edition of Facebook Live, our weekly update series. Thanks for joining us on this, the final full day of the Obama presidency. It's been a long, terrible 8 years in terms of government corruption, scandal, and illegal secrecy. But Judicial Watch was there fighting against the Obama administration's legacy of lawlessness as it was happening. And so obviously we're prepped to provide our watchdog role during the Trump administration. But let's talk about what Obama has been up to the last 8 years, because he's out there telling the American people how proud he is through his surrogates that there's been no scandals of note during his administration, which just blows the mind. Also, we have here a special update for you on some startling new court developments. We've had two federal court judges issue orders to top Obama administration officials, ordering these officials to preserve their government emails in their private email accounts, kind of like the Clinton scandal part 16 in some respects. So a lot to discuss today. First, let's talk about Obama's legacy. Obama's legacy obviously is the Trump administration, which in many ways was a rejection of his legacy. Well, let's talk about the issues of scandal and corruption, which is something you're not going to hear about from the regular media. And it starts off with Solyndra, where you had major donors to the Obama administration benefiting from his green energy program. In the case of Solyndra, getting money even though they knew it was a losing business, leading to millions and billions of dollars in taxpayer losses. We have the Fast and Furious scandal, which saw hundreds, thousands of guns go to Mexico as part of an administration scheme to tie our Second Amendment rights to drug violence and cartel violence in Mexico. And their idea was to have guns being sold in the United States show up in crime scenes in Mexico. That led to 300 plus deaths in Mexico and the death of U.S. Border Patrol agent Brian Terry. And Judicial Watch has been really tremendous in terms of our ability to get things done on that scandal. We were able to get records or force out records that Congress couldn't force out on Fast and Furious, and we're still getting records on Fast and Furious, including showing how those guns are being used in crimes to this day across America. To me, that counts as a scandal when your administration authorizes the illegal sale of guns in the hopes they show up at crime scenes. And then, of course, you've got the scandal of the ages, which is the IRS scandal under President Obama, where President Obama and his allies in Congress and in the IRS and the Department of Justice used the IRS not only to suppress and oppress the Tea Party movement and anyone else opposed to his possible re-election, but they also thought of ways to prosecute and put in jail the very people that the IRS was suppressing. This is work that, again, uncovered by Judicial Watch, not Congress and the media. And frankly, any other head of a Western democracy who was caught using his tax agency to suppress his political opposition would have been removed from office. And it's only because of the weak Republicans on the Hill that Obama wasn't impeached over this issue. And then, of course, we have the Clinton email issue, which was another big scandal, which involved President Obama directly. It was his administration, and he allowed his State Department, and everyone knew what was going on with Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration. Of course, the American people weren't told about her illegal email usage, but the Obama gang knew about it, and of course they knew what was going on with the Clinton Foundation and all the other pay-to-play scandals that she was involved in at the State Department. And as soon as the scandal broke, you had the Obama administration trying to protect Hillary Clinton, distorting the rule of law, interfering with the administration of justice in order to protect her and to ensure that she'd have a clear path to the presidency. It didn't work out the way they intended, but largely due to the fact that Judicial Watch was able to use the courts to get the truth out over the obstruction of the Obama administration. But that was a scandal that is going to go down in history, obviously. So, I mean, those are just three scandals, and we could go through and name all the other scandals Obama's been involved in, lying about Obamacare, rewriting the law on Obamacare, just changing the law whenever he wanted to on that issue. He repealed Obamacare in large measure already by refusing to enforce portions of the law for years. that lawlessness is something that's significant. And of course, his Justice Department was also on the wrong side of the law, refusing to enforce the law in a race-neutral manner. They believed at the Justice Department that the civil rights laws were never to be used in support of all Americans, just politically correct classes of Americans. The race-based application of the law was egregious and just was something, again, that Judicial Watch is in the forefront in investigating and exposing, such as, for instance, the refusal of the Obama Justice Department to go after legally those Black Panthers that were outside of the Philadelphia polling place with truncheons during the first Obama campaign for the presidency. His people came into the Justice Department and shut down that civil investigation of what they were up to. We exposed the truth about that and showed that the administration lied about that. So you name it. Misuse of the civil rights laws, Black Panthers, IRS, Hillary Clinton, and last but not least is the Benghazi scandal, which saw the deaths of a United States ambassador and 3 other innocent Americans because of the mess Obama and Hillary Clinton made. And of course, they lied about it immediately, trying to blame it on an internet video as opposed to the truth, which was that it was a terrorist attack. And it was Judicial Watch who uncovered the truths about their lies, and it was our disclosures that led to the creation of the Benghazi Select Committee, and it was that lawsuit that led to, or that litigation that also led to the disclosure of the Clinton emails. I think it's pretty darn important when the president lies about his ambassador being murdered. Again, Obama would like you to believe that nothing happened during his administration that was scandalous. I think it's hard to find historical comparables to the scandal of the president and Secretary of State knowingly lying about a terrorist attack that led to the death of the United States ambassador. So a lot going on, and the scandals obviously continue. The Iranian deal is a major scandal, and of course this week we had the abuse of his presidential pardon power or his commutation power, where he's letting out Chelsea Manning, née Bradley Manning, who was let out all these secrets in a way that placed American servicemen at risk. His sentence was shaved by about 30 years by President Obama, and he'll be getting out in May. And it just shows you that this president doesn't care much about hacking. He doesn't care much about national security when he's willing to let a traitor out like Bradley Manning, who put so many people at risk and probably could have gotten a death penalty if the Obama administration had prosecuted him appropriately. So that's Obama's legacy. So think about that when you hear all the hosannas from the media about Obama's historic presidency. It's historic in some significant ways, in positive ways, in terms of race relations, but I tell you, it's historic also in terms of the damage he did to our Republican form of government, which is based on the rule of law and the idea that the president is above the law. This was the catch me if you can presidency, and I'm proud of Judicial Watch's record in catching him, despite his efforts to skirt the rule of law and to blow up the Constitution. And we're still doing it. This week we had 2 federal court judges order Obama officials to hold their emails, make sure they're not deleted from their private email accounts if they're government records. And who are those officials? The 4 top officials at the Department of Homeland Security. 2 of them are still there, including the Secretary of Homeland Security, Jay Johnson. I told you about this in a previous weekly update. Well, the court in that case ordered them to keep any emails they have in their private email accounts. They were using their private email accounts. It's pretty clear to conduct government business. The Obama administration didn't want to turn over any of those records to us, and they were playing games about whether or not they were going to save these records, and the court ordered these officials to hold on and preserve these records. That doesn't happen very often for a court to rule like that. And not only that, it doesn't happen very often that 2 courts order the administration to do that, because Mr. Kadzik, who was a top Justice Department attorney who was emailing John Podesta, whose emails on his private account, with some heads-up info about the Clinton email scandal. That email was released thanks to WikiLeaks. Well, we saw that. We wanted to know what other emails were. We wanted to see that email and any other emails he had to conducting government business on his private email account. And a federal court, Judge Sullivan, ordered that Mr. Kadzik save any of those records on his system, any government records on his private system. Again, a major email violation. And now, what's interesting is that Kadzik is telling us through the Justice Department, well, there are no, quote, government records on his system. Well, what happened to the email he sent to Podesta? A lot of questions to be answered, but Judge Sullivan obviously was skeptical of the Justice Department's reassurances that nothing untoward would happen to the emails, and so he issued one of the top officials in the Obama Justice Department not to delete emails on his way out the door. So this is pretty good work on behalf of your right to know, and it shows you the courts can work sometimes. And both of these judges, the first judge I talked about was an appointee of President Obama, and Judge Sullivan is an appointee of President Clinton. So this is not an ideological issue. This is an issue of good government and the judges wanting the rule of law and to be vindicated and the Freedom of Information Act to be protected. And speaking of Obama scandals and Clinton scandals, we had a major new filing this past week. I think we filed it last week, where we reasserted our desire to depose Hillary Clinton over the Clinton email scandal. And this is the Benghazi lawsuit that has uncovered so many emails, including the big email scandal that really changed history. But now the Obama administration doesn't want any discovery. And this case is before Judge Royce Lamberth. And Judge Lamberth had already found, you may recall we got discovery in one of the cases on the Clinton email matter from Judge Sullivan. But Judge Lamberth said, Judge Sullivan gave you discovery. Tell me what other discovery you want, because I'm going to give you discovery too. And Judge Sullivan and Judge Lamberth had ruled that where there is evidence of government wrongdoing and bad faith, as here, limited discovery is appropriate, even though it's exceedingly rare in FOIA cases. So there you go, another piece of history for President Obama, giving Judicial Watch discovery in basic Freedom of Information Act cases where it all ought to be just about whether we're getting documents and whether things are being withheld properly or not whether they were trying to purposely shield them from us, as Hillary Clinton evidently was doing with her Clinton email, with her Clinton server practices. And now Judge Lamberth told us that just recently he issued an order saying, give me an update on what you want with discovery. And so that's what we did. And we reaffirmed our desire to depose Hillary Clinton, her top deputy Cheryl Mills, but we also added some additional records requests and asked for some additional witnesses because we want to look into areas where there is evidence of wrongdoing or bad faith with respect to the State Department's response to our FOIA request about that Benghazi terrorist attack. So this is not just about Clinton emails, this is about covering up information about that terrorist attack. And we also want, obviously, to figure out what the remedies would be as a result of this misconduct, how it is we're going to get the emails that we're entitled to, and what the courts need to do to take what the courts, we think, need to do in order to reassure the American people that they're getting all the information that's out there in response to our Freedom of Information Act lawsuit. So you can see we're not slowing down at all with the transition into a new Trump administration. And, let's hope Mr. Trump reflects and stays true to at least his rhetoric in terms of cleaning up government corruption, asking for more transparency, holding Hillary Clinton to account, and really just reinstilling a respect for the rule of law. And, if he doesn't do any of those things, we'll be there. We're going to be asking him questions. And what's interesting is that all of these lawsuits that we filed against the Obama administration that are still active now will be against the Trump administration, since they'll be taking over. So we were suing the Obama State Department today. Well, tomorrow it's going to be the Trump State Department. So they're going to have some choices to make as to how they handle these FOIA requests and lawsuits. Are they going to continue to fight us on discovery? The Obama administration told the court this week Judicial Watch deserves no discovery. But what is the Trump administration going to tell the court next week? And are they going to continue to stonewall all these records we've been asking for from the Obama administration? Are they going to continue the practice of the Obama administration flouting the rule of law, flouting the Freedom of Information Act, and will they start turning over documents to the American people? So those are big issues for the presidency of Donald Trump. The policies are going to change. I've often observed we're probably going to get tax cuts, and Obamacare will be repealed, and regulations will be curtailed, and some good conservative policy will happen, more or less. But the big issue is corruption in Washington and a government that's out of control and thinks it can do whatever it wants without being held accountable to the American people or the rule of law. And that's where he needs to spend his time on, and that's where I think he can have a tremendous impact, because policies can always be changed. But the culture's harder to change, and that's where I think he needs to spend his political capital. So I hope he's listening, and to the degree you share our point of view on this, that government corruption needs to be an A1 priority of both this president and Congress and the judiciary. You need to let your elected officials know about it, because unless you care about corruption and share those concerns with them, they won't. But in the meantime, we'll keep on doing the work. We'll ask the questions. We'll try to uncover what's going on. We'll try to hold the Obama administration to account even after it leaves office. And of course, we're going to hold this Trump administration to account. So thanks for joining us. Next time we meet, we'll be talking about the Trump administration, because we'll be a week into it. I hope you have a great weekend and enjoy the inauguration. Thank you.